there, it's Craig here from See America Projects, and I'm super excited because we now have beautiful vinyl plank flooring. So if you're here to learn how to do this awesome vinyl plank flooring, then stop, that's right, I said stop watching this video, and go to the website or to the YouTube channel called So That's How You Do That. That site is hosted by my brother in Christ, Joe Latender, and he is an expert at vinyl plank flooring, and he has dozens and dozens of videos about how to do this. Unfortunately, I didn't discover him until I was way into this project. But a lot of his tips really helped out. Some of the things he said I didn't grasp until I was well into the project, and I was like, oh, that's what he meant. Anyway, go over to his channel. You'll see the expert advice for doing this. But if you want to watch a beginner do this for the first time because you're wondering, can I do this as a beginner? Can I lay down vinyl plank flooring? Then come along with us. We'll show you step by step all that we did. And then maybe you will decide whether you can do it or not. So come check it out. Let's go. Meow.
So the first thing I need to do to refinish the floor is to get rid of this old carpet. And an easy way to do that is to just do it in sections, like maybe 8x4 sections, and then they roll up real easy. So I'll show you how I do it. I just take a hand saw like this, and it works well with scissors as well. And then I just make a cut in the carpet. You can do it with scissors, but it's just a lot easier with the hand saw. And then what I do is I kind of like a tailor does to rip fabric. I just stand on one side and then I rip it with my hand, and it makes a pretty even line, so it doesn't take much time to go and rip out a section of carpeting. So this makes it a lot more manageable if you just do it in little sections. The next step is the funnest of them all, and that is getting up the tack strips, usually with a crowbar and a hammer, getting up all the nails. And there's a whole bunch of staples that staple down the carpet padding, so you have to get those up. And these little nails here. There are some boards that needed repair, and I tried to do a wood filler on them, but they're still really soft. So I'm just going to repair or replace that board. So that's a 3 1/4 inch width board. I'll cut it across here and then take out that board and replace it. So my dog is super interested in my project. I'm using a pry bar to get the old board up. Luckily there's a good solid wood floor underneath there. And then I'll take it out at the end. Now I have this board pretty much dug out, and I think I will remove this guy and also this little piece here. They're not that great. So as you see, I removed that lip here just by prying it up with a hammer. So now it should just slide in real easy like, which it does. So that's a handy little feature that floor planks had. I had no idea. So I screwed down these parts, and I'm just going to use wood filler instead of doing all that cutting, and kind of smooth that out with a with a sander. And this guy, I'm just going to glue him down here, and then I'll fill in the gaps with wood filler. Okay, so I put little shards of wood in the cracks. And then a big glob of wood filler. I'm gonna press it into the crack. that all the rotted boards are replaced. I'm gonna clean this floor up. Now that I have all the tack board pulled up and all the staples pulled up, then I'm just taking this painting scraper and I'm scraping the floors, trying to get rid of all that excess plastic. Handsome man, so tell me, what are you doing and why are you doing this thing?
So this is one way to cover up an old vent. So what we're doing is we're switching the far room in our house to a mini split system. And the reason is that these vents are so far from the actual unit, from the heating and cooling unit, that by the time it gets here, especially in winter when it's freezing cold, by the time it gets here, the air is cooled down so much because it's passing through this freezing cold basement. So we've decided to just eliminate these far units. Plus, this is a room we don't use too often. So we're going to get rid of these and put in a mini split. So of course, we're going to go into the house and remove the tubing and stuff. But right now, we're just preparing because we're going to put new flooring down. So we want to eliminate these. And you don't want to put your new flooring. We've got the vinyl plank flooring. You don't want to just put it right over that, because if somebody stepped on that with enough weight, they could smash through your vinyl flooring. So what I've done is I've cut these two little side pieces here, and then I'm going to screw these into the structure. And once I get those screwed in, then I'm going to pop this little thin piece that I cut to size. That's going to go right there, and I've already measured it. It's going to come up nice and level with the floor.
Brilliant.
So let's go ahead and screw it in and see how it comes out.
And you have plenty of room to screw it into the floor because there are 2 layers of wood floor in this puppy that is built in the 1890s.
That's right.
Looks like he did a good job. Nothing's going down to the basement and nothing is coming up.
Okay, so we got all the baseboards and such removed. But now the question was what to do with this. I elect to cut this with one of these cutoff tools, because my thought is if I try to cut that shape and it's got a funny curve, like it's probably not going to cut out well. I mean, you have to do a special jigsaw cut. I think it's simpler, so I'm just going to cut this, and I'm going to try to do it about the height of the board so I don't have to do any caulking or anything later, although I might. So I'm just going to kind of put the board up to it, and I'll put a little niche to show where to start. Okay, so that's the height of the board. So if I cut it here, then I should be able to slide the board right under there and avoid having to cut the board additionally. All right, so the hardest cut I've had to do so far was to get around this banister, and after wasting one board, this was just more of a rugged cut, and then I actually used this. I didn't waste, it's not a total waste, because I used this kind of as a template, and then I just refined it a little to get the angles on this, but I accidentally left a little bit too much of a gap, but that's okay. We can put a little trim or something there, and then most of this will be covered up with the baseboards, and we might do a little caulk or something. I don't know. We'll see. But that's the hardest part when you have to get around structures. I'll just show you. Just knocking them in regularly is pretty simple. So what I did here is I cut these, because if you can see, we got a pattern going where every other row lines up, and that's just something I wanted to do. It made it a little simpler. Some people say you should make them all different, but that requires a ton more cutting. So I just made every other row the same. So then when I got here, I just had to cut out these little 9-inch pieces, and I'll show you how easy this stuff goes in. So basically you're just wedging this in, and I'll show you on a full piece too, because it's a little different than a half piece. And that actually went right in. Didn't even maybe give it one little bang with this. Gets it in all the way. And then this is how you do it. The full piece, you just lay the little lip inside the groove. Then you slide it down till it hits good there. Then you drop that in here. And the whole time I'm kind of pulling toward myself. And then you give it a couple bangs. And then as you can see, it stays up a little bit. And that's where your little hammering block comes in. This is kind of a rubbery type thing or plastic. You don't want to hit this with a hammer, with a regular hammer. This is particle board on most of these and will break real easy. So you just hit this a couple times and you'll see every time I hit, you see this dropping. You see it's still got a little bit of bounce. Then you just move down a couple feet, and then you're laying down full boards. This goes really quick. You can do a row in like 5 minutes or less, but it's just those hard cuts that take a while. So when you're doing a room, a big room like this, you want to measure ahead of time and make sure you don't end up with any skinny points where it hits the wall. So what I did is I measured for the majority of the room and made sure that when I get all the way over here, it's going to be a pretty, you know, like half of a piece at least, because you don't want any little skinny pieces. However, I was measuring for the main part of the room, but there's this little cove here, and I didn't really think about this, but you can see my problem. So now right here, I'm gonna have this little, like not even a 2-inch, probably an 1.5 inch strip. So you wanna try to avoid these, just showing you the problems I came up with. And man, I'm not really sure how you would think ahead to make sure that didn't happen, especially in a room like this where there's actually, see, like this one came out fine. This one is about half of a, as you can see, it's roughly, it's a little over half the width. So this is a good sized piece to end there, but not a good size there. But when I get to this wall, it should be good. So I'm not too worried because this is just in this little cove here, and it's just like 5 feet long. So I'm not gonna stress about it too much, but yeah, whenever you can avoid like ending with a little tiny strip, you wanna do that because they're just not very strong and the boards can come up and stuff. Super handy dandy thing to have are these little thin cardboard strips. You can get these at most hardware stores, I believe. I have no idea what they're called. I'll try to look it up and put it in the description below. And what these are good for is if you have old floors like mine, if you look here, this piece of wood, I'll just kind of show you, because see, it goes over and then it dips down. So when it meets the next piece of wood, there's quite a bit of a gap. And when you're putting a piece of wood over that gap, you don't want a huge gap under there, because if there's ever weight put down, it will break. So what you can do is I've cut a bunch of these little guys, and you can just cut these with standard scissors. So I use these to make a little stair step, so it's not like a sudden increase. So what I'll do is I'll put a couple, I'll double up a couple, and I just, you know, if you wanted to like glue them down, probably even better. So I put 2 there, and it's about the same height as that. So I'm going to do a couple rows of 2, and then I'm going to stair step it down to 1, and then 1 more. And this is about, you can kind of see this is about where the board starts to dip. So that will make it so when I put this piece in, now it's it won't be just kind of hanging in midair, so to speak. So it'll have those under, and I don't glue them down because I'm just going to put this right down on them. So yeah, anyway, those are a super handy thing to have. So if you have an old house, an uneven spot, get you some of these. It's a lot easier for me than cement. Some people do like a cement to level it out, but this is just quick. You don't have to wait for it to dry or anything, and it should provide decent support. So back again with another weird tip. So I showed you these things earlier, how you can stack these and put them in gaps. And I was going to use those here, but the gaps are massive. As you can see, there's like almost a 1/4 inch gap there. It will come down a little bit as I attach more flooring, but basically the flooring over there is pretty high, and then the flooring in this side of the room is high, and our flooring just kind of has a dip here. So what I thought to do, because otherwise I'm going to use all of these up and I still need these for other small things. So I just started cutting the boxing. It's basically the same, it's cardboard. Is this a good idea? I don't know. I hope longevity-wise it doesn't cause any problems. I don't see that it would, since it's sandwiched between two wood floors. I don't think it would get, wet or any moisture or anything. So anyway, I'm just cutting the boxes down, and then I just kind of slide them on in, and then I kind of push down a little bit, and then I just see kind of when they catch, because the dip doesn't go that far. So here, right about there is where it's kind of catching, so I'm just going to leave it there, and then maybe I'll put in another small strip on top of that. But I like this as an alternative to doing like a cement or mortar type fill, because, and you're preserving the original wood floors, in case you ever want to go back to them.
So who came up with this brilliant idea?
The brilliant idea of using the boxes was the beautiful lady behind the camera.
Hey.
Because I was complaining, I was like, I'm going to use up all these strips, I don't have enough. And I asked her for some brain power, and she came up with the idea, just use the boxes. It's essentially the same. These are basically cardboard. So yeah, and then if somebody ever tears up the floor someday, they'll know what brand of flooring was used. So yeah, just a quick, easy way to fill in a gap. You don't want a big gap, because if a heavy person steps on, it could break the plank. These are supposed to, most floor planks over time will kind of warp to fit your space, but you don't want to start off with too big of a gap. It's just not good. And when we finished the section, then we went ahead and put the baseboard back on, and little fluffy puppy.
He's drilling in the baseboard for me.
Okay.
He wanted to help.
He likes to help, so he gets right up in the job and really gets to work. Are you helping out, Higgins? We've now come to almost the end, and this was actually shocking. We estimated almost perfectly. You know how many planks we were short? 1 plank. So we don't want to spend a whole $40 or whatever it is for one single plank. So we're going to cheat. So this is where the actual good pieces end, and all we had is this little final section. So this is just a scrap. You can see it doesn't have a lip on either side, so it's not really a valid piece. But we're gonna slip it in there. So basically our floor will have 1, 2 little seams that are kind of out of the way. I think we're gonna have a little table here or something anyway. So not a big deal. So don't be afraid to, save a few bucks if you come up that close to the end. Right, Higgins? You think that sounds good? And just use your scraps to finish up, especially if it's a place that's not gonna get heavy foot traffic. Nobody's gonna be walking right here on the edge of the wall. Hey, he's hogging my airtime. So anyway, we're pretty happy with how it came out. The only task that remains is to get some sort of a transition piece here. We're probably going to do some sort of little threshold, and wherever this meets the wood. Also probably one over there where it meets the carpet. Although we wouldn't have to put anything there, because it has a nice clean look as it is. But it's usually advised to put some sort of transition piece or some sort of threshold over.
Maybe we could put him over.
Yeah, maybe we'll skin him and put this luxurious Shiba fur over it. Does that sound good, baby? So anyway, thanks for coming along with us on this journey, and we hope you enjoyed, and hope you learned a little something with us. And please take all of your complaints, comments, concerns, and put them in the comment section down below. And each one will be addressed in due order.
That a timely manner.
In a timely manner. God bless.